I don't know anything.
Well, what has he said about his life in the prison camp?
He hasn't said a thing.
In all the months he's been back, he said nothing.
Maybe there are some things a man doesn't want to talk about, or can't talk about.
Even to his own wife?
Especially to his own wife.
Well, didn't you ask? Weren't you curious?
He was gone 2 years, 8 months, and 17 days. Yes, I was curious. Oh, I thought it would come in time. That if he wanted to tell me, he would. But he never has.
What does he talk about?
Oh, what do people talk about when they don't want to talk? Little things, meaningless things, nothing worth remembering.
Well, since he's been back, hasn't he revealed something accidentally?
No.
You know, a slip of some kind, a story he started to tell, didn't finish, anything like that?
No.
He's told you absolutely nothing?
Well, I remember something that he said on his first day back. He said, why is it that most people can only belong to a family, a country, a religion? Why can't they all belong to just one thing, the human race?
Mrs. Cargill, a man who felt that way might be ripe for a cause. And if it were the wrong cause, I'm afraid...
So you really think he went over to them?
No, I didn't say that.
But you think it's possible?
Isn't it?
Is that what they've done? Have they twisted our thinking so that a man has to be afraid of a decent instinct? So that he has to be ashamed to show some concern for his fellow man?
I'm sorry, Mrs. Cargill, but it's an old trick to hide an ugly reality behind a beautiful phrase.
He's been through so much. Why don't you let him go?
The fact that he's been through so much is no defense. For his own sake, we've got to make him talk.
Can't you understand how he feels? He's a very sensitive man, and he's been deeply hurt. Nobody wants him. His own men have turned against him. He's nobody. He has no place to stand. Oh, Colonel, please give him a place. Give him a place.
I can't do a thing, Mrs. Cargill, until I know his story. He's got to talk.
And you want me to make him talk, is that all?
Yes.
Colonel, he's been home 5 months. 5 months. And in all that time, we haven't even been to bed together. You want me to make him talk.
Mrs. Cargill, please. Please, Mrs. Cargill.
Somebody's got to help him. There must be a way. There must.
I'm trying, Mrs. Cargill. Believe me, I'm trying.
I'm sorry.
No, that's quite all right. Before I go, I've got to ask you just one more question.
Yes.
Was there any particular thing of which your husband was afraid?
Afraid?
Yes, did he have any experiences during the war, or even before, that might have given him a strong fear, an anxiety of some kind?
Fear?
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't think so. No, the only time I remember him even mentioning the word was once in a letter, and I don't suppose that's what you mean.
No. Go on, you tell me.
Well, he just said, I have finally become afraid.
Yes?
I remember it because he'd never written anything like that before.
Why was he afraid? Did he say why?
No, I don't think so. It's been such a long time, 9 years.
Please, whatever you can remember might be of some help.
I remember how he ended the letter. It was a quotation of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
He said, who kills one man kills the whole world. And then he added, how many worlds have I killed?
Kills one man, kills the whole world. How many worlds have I killed?
Does that help you in some way?
I don't know, Mrs. Cargill. I'm not sure, but it might. Well, thank you very much for talking to me. I'm sorry I had to bother you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Colonel.
Yes?
Colonel, if you do find out anything, I mean, if he tells you anything, you will let me know, won't you?
Yes, of course I will.
Thank you. I'll be waiting.
Goodbye, Mrs. Cargill.
Bye.
I'll call for you when I'm ready.
Major Cargo's waiting, sir.
I know. Evans, he's two different men.
Sir?
The man we saw here yesterday and the man his wife described. Two different men.
His wife?
Yeah, I was just talking to her. And I'm glad I did, too, because that man out there and her Cargill, well, her Cargill just doesn't commit treason.
Well, maybe her cargo changed, sir.
Of course he changed, but how? Why?
Well, perhaps there was a causative factor that influenced his
Causative
change.
factor. Evans, where'd you ever dig up a dusty phrase like that?
Well, my father was a lawyer.
Really?
It's not so unusual, sir. There are about 200,000 lawyers in this country, so it shouldn't surprise you so.
Everything about you surprises me, Evans.
Sir, we were talking about a causative factor.
Yeah, we were. What I was going to say is that something happened to change Cargill. Something big. And obviously rather sudden, because when we... Hey, wait a minute.
Yes, sir?
Miller's testimony yesterday, there was something in there when he was describing how Cargill went over. Didn't he say something like, somebody means business now? Wasn't that in there?
He said it. I can find it.
Good. You got it?
Here it is, sir.
I can't read this.
I'm sorry. Don't be such heroes. This man means business now.
That's it. That's it. This man means business now. And this man has got to be Colonel Kim. Colonel Kim means business now. And it happened suddenly. They all said suddenly, didn't they?
I think so, sir. I'll check.
But the important word is now. Not a month ago or a week ago, but now. That's the word. You got it?
The thing happened very suddenly. It took us all by surprise.
Happened suddenly. Took us all by surprise. Suddenly.
Sir.
What?
Well, I don't want to interfere with your train of thought.
No, don't worry about that. Go ahead. What do you got?
Well, sir, speaking of repetitive wordage.
What do you mean, repetitive wordage?
Well, sir, it's true. They all said it happened very suddenly, but there's something else, too.
What?
Well, when you were talking about, when the men were describing the deaths of Harvey and Connors, they all used very similar phrases in describing the disease and its consequences, like bacillary dysentery and dehydration.
Well, that's
you know,
only natural. They didn't have any doctors. They had to be familiar with all kinds of repetitive wordage. Did you make a note of those places, Evans?
Yes, sir, I did. Captain Mike Stewart's testimony, sir.
All right. Question, how did Lieutenant Harvey die? Answer, he died following an acute case of dysentery. Bacillary dysentery, dehydration. You got another one, Evans?
Lieutenant Paleska's?
Died following an acute case of dysentery. Bacillary dysentery. What's this?
And here's, sir, Lieutenant Harper's.
Died following an acute case of dysentery. An acute case. It's never a bad case or a violent case. It's always an acute case,
Yes, sir,
isn't it?
I know.
I think you're right, Evans. There are too many witnesses using exactly the same words.
Well, I thought it was significant, sir. You see, when you type the same phrase over and over, it begins to make an impression.
Corporal, anytime you want to interfere with my train of thought, I mean if you notice anything that strikes you as being peculiar, so your father was a lawyer, huh?
Yes, sir.
I hope I'm not interrupting anything, Bill, but I want to talk to you.
Yes, of course, sir.
Didn't you tell me that Lieutenant Miller was your last witness on the Cargill case?
That's right, sir.
And why did you go to see Cargill's wife? There's not much around this post that escaped Sergeant Fleischacker. You should know that.
Well, Cargill refuses to defend himself. I thought his wife might be helpful.
So now you're concerned with his defense.
Well, sir, if I'm to do my job fairly, I've got
Are you
to
suggesting that I'm asking you not to do your job fairly?
No, sir.
Bill, we've worked together for years. You know me as well as anyone does. I try to be fair-minded.
You are.
I've let you take your time, even when I thought you were taking more time than was necessary. But Mrs. Cargill is hardly a competent witness to something that happened in the Korean prison camp 9,000 miles away. Bill, I don't want to do this. But now I feel compelled to ask you officially for the first time, what's going on in this case?
I just can't make any recommendations, sir, until I have all the facts.
Then get them, fast. Finish your investigation, let's have the court-martial.
General, we can't investigate fairly if we start out by saying there's going to be a court-martial. That's prejudging the evidence.
You mean there's even a possibility you will not recommend a court-martial?
Well, all I'm saying, sir, is that it's too early to tell.
When there's clear evidence of collaboration, photostats of his signature on confessions, recordings of his own voice making broadcasts for them.
There are unexplained things, too, sir. Insufficient motive, for one.
Insufficient motive?
Yes.
Maybe the motive was so obvious it hasn't occurred to you. Maybe it was planned this way.
Sir?
I think Cargill may have been one of them before he ever got to Camp Gigi.
Well, there's nothing in the records to indicate that, sir.
And I see nothing to indicate otherwise. They could make a big thing out of an American officer, major, a mature, responsible man going over to them. Bill, this would be a lot easier on both of us. Certainly on me, if this case had been assigned to another post. But the Pentagon assigned it here, and here it is. We can't change that.
I know. I understand that, sir.
All right. Then let's get it finished up with efficiency and dispatch. Well, after all, Bill, there's a human side to this, too. Those men. After the hell they went through in that prison camp, now we keep it hanging over them. The knowledge that they'll have to relive it all by testifying. That's quite an ordeal. Believe me, if you could have seen that Lieutenant Miller yesterday at the officers' club, you'd know what